Hey, it's Phoenix, and welcome to the L2R podcast, the License to Ride podcast. Today, we head to Manitoba for an event that's happening August 8th. Now, it's in COVID times, but what they're doing is rather unique, and what they're supporting is pretty amazing as well, too. We'll talk to the vice president of a motorcycle association out in Manitoba. His name is Jim Small. Next on the L2R podcast. Hey, Jim, it's finally great to get a hold of you, to meet you, and I see you have the COVID beard going on here.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's been quite the ride. No pun intended. Hey.
I bet. Hey, I'm speaking of rides. I haven't been through Manitoba in a little bit, but from what I understand, I'm based out of Alberta. I understand Manitoba is getting hit pretty bad with this summer weather, if you will.
Yeah, it's been, off and on riding wise. We do a Wednesday night ride. Last night was really nice, but other weeks we've had to cancel. We've been riding in rain and hail and high
Jeez.
winds. I guess Alberta's the same. Hey.
We've had a lot of stories and national stories, as you probably heard, about
Yeah.
hail. And I mean, one of the things when you ride here in Alberta, you're always looking for that overpass just to make sure you've got a place to hide, especially when you look
Yeah.
off into the distance and you think, man, could that be hail? Could that be a tornado? Wow.
Yeah. And that's interesting because out here, our highways, we don't have really any place under the underpass that's safe to actually pull over.
Maybe under a
And
cow.
yeah, maybe. But I was thinking about that the other day when I was riding home in the rain and a little bit of hail. So yeah, I thought, well, that's something we could work on maybe.
Well,
Yeah,
what's one thing about the prairie provinces, especially. Always look to the animals. The animals know. They're
they do.
smart. The horses,
Yeah.
the cows, they know what's going on.
Absolutely. I'm always watching when I ride by if they're getting into a group, then I know there's a storm coming or,
Oh
if
yeah.
they're out grazing. Yeah, you're right.
Or
You're right.
or you should pull off to the side, jump over the fence, and maybe hide underneath them. If there's
Yeah,
no
right
overpasses,
around
man,
them. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
gotta do something.
Well, I got to be honest. Every time I've been in Calgary, and it's been so beautiful, but I've experienced. Usually, I'm there for a few days, probably a week, and I experience all four seasons in 1 week.
I
So
know,
you
I
guys, you
know.
guys picked. I know you do.
It's the cross we bear, but you know what? If you're an avid rider like myself and you like yourself, you find ways around it, right? I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's one of those things that the old expression here, at least in Alberta, is you just wait 5 minutes and the weather will change, and that's
Yeah.
typically true,
Yeah.
right?
Well, for us too, because we always have good winds coming in here because we're flat. So yeah, we know that it's going to shift. So I've gone out, in the afternoon when it's been just horrendous in the morning, and then just, you walk out and it's okay, and it dries in about, 15 minutes. So
Yeah.
it's all good,
What
right?
is it we don't know about riding motorcycles in Manitoba that we should know? Because you said
Um,
it's flat, but there's more to it. I
mhm.
mean, I think you're north of Winnipeg, Selkirk, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's where I
So
reside.
so
Yeah.
what is it about Manitoba that if someone from another province is thinking about visiting, what is it we should know about Manitoba?
Well, every town, it's actually quite nice. It's actually beautiful. Outside my door, anywhere in 15 minutes, I'm by a lake, a major lake, or some type of beautiful scenery. A lot of farmsteads and farmland. But if you go to the west of the province, we have a whole bunch of mountain ranges. Well, we call them mountains. They're not the Rockies, of course, but they're scenic in their own right, and a
All
lot of
right.
parks. But one of the things interesting for riders, we're doing. I know Manitoba has Ride Manitoba this year because at the early part of the season we couldn't go outside the borders, and so it was a matter. It was sort of like an iron butt type of ride where you go and
Right.
you take a picture of all these different places that you visit. And each one of these little towns has some sort of a mascot, a big monument. So we have one that's got a giant mosquito. We have one that has a goose, a Canada goose. You know, there's one that has this big rock with a face on it, and he's waving. And it's the town is I can't. Oh, it's just slipped my mind, but it's Red Rock or something. It's
Sure.
part of the town. So yeah, so each one of these things, and part of this ride for Manitoba thing was to take a picture of your bike that you were there, at that monument or whatever. So
I love that. The mosquito, I'm going to check that
yeah,
one out. But of course, the
yeah,
Red River, which is always a sight to behold as well.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
it's beautiful. Yeah, a lot of nice trails along here, and Selkirk's right on the river. We're right by the river, and we're 20 minutes, about 20 minutes away from Lake Winnipeg, which is really an inland sea. It's huge. It's a huge
fantastic.
commercial fish. Yeah, so there's lots to do. Lots of ice cream stands. We love our ice cream. We love our pets, and we love our
Yeah.
ice cream. So yeah,
Yeah, and hate those mosquitoes, but I hear you.
yeah, yeah. Well,
One of the things that I'm curious about is you've been riding for a while, and have you always had or owned an Indian motorcycle?
no, actually, I got the bug when I was a little boy because back in well, I won't date myself, but at that time, Indian motorcycle was phasing out, and there was still a few around that would come down the gravel roads where I grew up in sort of the country of the outskirts of Winnipeg. So I saw it, I heard it, I knew some of the people who owned them, and so I always had that sort of bug in my heart, if you will. When I met my wife many years ago, the first date we had, she asked me what my dream car was, and I said, I don't have a dream car, I have a dream motorcycle.
Look at
And
that.
she said, well, what is it? And I said, well, it's an Indian. And at the time, Indian wasn't even producing anymore. So yeah, but I've been riding. I've had my license since '78, so
Good
been
for
doing
you.
it a few years. Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah. It's one of the things that I find too. There's just so many different types of motorcycles out there, and so many different rides. I mean, just recently I took out we did a motorcycle review on a Harley Davidson Live Wire, the electric version
Nice.
for Harley Davidson. And can I tell you, you want to talk about a different ride? It is
Wow.
it'll completely change your mind about the sport of riding. And so, as much as you're the vice president of your group, at the same time, though, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to
Oh
try out
no.
little other rides,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
incredible what the motorcycle world is all about today.
Yeah, you're right, and I'm very open-minded as far as that goes. One of the things that we stipulated for our ride was that anyone is welcome, whatever you ride, and we have a lot of friends that ride Harleys and
Awesome.
Honda too, right? So a lot of touring and all that type of thing, but it doesn't have to be anything special, and it doesn't have to necessarily be an Indian motorcycle. Um, yeah, and they're all good when they
Just
work.
yeah.
Great.
Yeah, that's even better.
Yeah, that's right.
The coming up on August 8th, and this is part of the reason why I reached out to you, because I heard about this Ride for Rescue, FOR, Ride for Rescue, and
That's
it's the
right.
second annual being held in Winnipeg. And what I found just absolutely fascinating about this ride is because you hear of a lot of rides in 2020 because of COVID that are being canceled, postponed, or delayed, or whatever it might be. But you're forging forward with this gang of yours. I should say that you are also the VP of i.m.r.g, the Indian Motorcycle Riding Group, Chapter 1991.
That's
Nice.
right. Yeah. Thank you.
Proud,
Yeah.
loud and
Very good.
proud.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is putting this on together. But when you were deciding through this COVID pandemic, let's be real, were you
Hmm.
saying to your group, geez, guys, maybe we shouldn't do this? Or were you thinking, we still need to do this, but let's think about how we can do it in a safe way?
Well, yeah, great question. We had our first meeting of the year of the season late February, early March. So COVID hadn't actually taken off yet, and no one was really aware of it. And at our first meeting, of course, because we were pretty successful last year being our inaugural ride, everyone was basically, "Oh, we got to do this again," and they were all gung ho and sort of looking at me as sort of the lead on it. And I said, well, yeah, okay, but this year I'm going to need some help. We need a volunteer group that's going to look after some of the stations. We need to be organized. And So they were all gung ho and no problem. And then COVID hit. And I don't know about you folks, but it sort of delayed just the whole riding
Oh yeah.
season,
Oh yeah.
right? So, I mean, the ride for rescue wasn't even on the radar. It was a matter of, can I get my bike out of storage?
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Yeah.
right? So that kind of took off, and then I was in contact with Carla, the sort of the founder of the shelter that we Winnipeg Pet Rescue Shelter that we sponsor, and she was asking me, well, is your group going to pursue something this year? And I said, well, we're in August. We'll hold a date because we do a ride guide calendar every year. The
Mm.
association in Manitoba does that. And so as a placeholder, we said, okay, let's look at that first Saturday in August or second Saturday, whatever it was. And so we decided, yeah, we're gonna just put a placeholder there and see what happens.
Like
Early
the
days.
NHL.
Exactly like the
Let's set a
NHL.
date, right?
Yeah,
If it doesn't happen, it
exactly.
doesn't happen, but at least we have a date.
Exactly. Yeah, it's you're absolutely right. My dad and I were talking about that yesterday, as a matter of fact. So yeah, we went along, and we do a Wednesday night ride. Our group does, and we go to little towns around, and it's usually an evening, 3-4 hours after work, and we go for ice cream or a hamburger or whatever. Some people have supper,
Right.
and so we were able to see how many from that were willing to come out and socialize, do the safe distancing thing, and all that. And so each week it grew a little bigger and a little bigger, and
Mm.
and then so April came, and we started to ride a little bit, and then May came, and we have two major rides here in Winnipeg, one being Ride for Dad and the other the breast cancer ride, and they're staggered weekends, but they're always in May. They're always the big first events.
Right.
And because of that, well, because they're big, so that was kind of working against them, because COVID was really starting to get stricter and stricter, even
Social
in
distancing.
Manitoba.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So big rides, and they said, well, we're going to postpone ours. And the breast cancer said, we're going to do that too. We'll push it to, the fall sometime, I think October, September, late
Mm-hmm.
September, October. And we're still placeholding in August. So we had about 6 weeks to go to our date, and everybody started to come together and said, you know what,
Fantastic.
they started to the restrictions were loosening a little bit, and we're allowed 100 and something people outside, and
Yeah.
and as long as we're conscientious of it, we'll and practice have a safe environment for people to come. We
Well,
should
let's
be
be
okay.
Yeah, well, let's be real here too, Jim. I mean, the Winnipeg Pet Rescue Shelter, this is probably one of their major fundraisers. And Carla, the
Yeah.
founder,
Yeah.
must have been
Mhm.
knocking on your door saying, Jim, please tell me this is going to happen because it could be make or break for us. True?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Good point. Yesterday we had a volunteer meeting, an all volunteer meeting after work, and she said that every one of her major charities that she or drives that she raises funds with were canceled this year,
Wow.
and she
Wow.
is exclusively donation based. She doesn't get any
Jeez.
public funding, no government funding, no help or assistance in any way. So this is what she relies on. And I know from her, I asked her for some numbers last year, and some of the operations that these animals require can run into the thousands of dollars.
My
Just
goodness.
save an animal and find them a good home, right? And yeah,
As
and
as a motorcycle community, though, which I'm very proud to be a part of as well, the hearts of these people that you know near and dear to your heart said, come hell or high water, we got to do this.
yeah, it was really amazing that I just put a little email out to our group. We have a couple of social media connection, mediums, and they all started popping back and said, yeah, we want to do this again this year. Yeah, we'll help. we'll
Great.
we'll volunteer. We'll put me anywhere you want, and
Great.
all. So yeah, it was kind of a no-brainer at the end of the day. The caution with the caveat that we're still going to be practicing safe distancing, good hand hygiene. We've got lots of wipes, we've got masks and bandanas for people if they want to wear them.
The
All of
dinners. Tell
the
me about the
volunteers.
dinners. This is kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. So when it was earlier on and the restrictions were really strict, I said to the group, "What do you think about just having a prepackaged kind of meal?" And then
Love it.
one of the gals in our group said, "Well, I was just at a wedding shower or something, and that's what they did. They catered all this sushi and everything, and it just came in a package, and it was
Perfect.
fantastic."
Perfect.
So yeah, there we go. And we love to eat. The two cultures that really blend, motorcycles and pets, but we also love our
Love
we
to
love our
eat.
food. We love, right? We love our burgers and our stuff. So
Wobbly pops.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Well,
Ice
this is
cream, lots of ice cream.
yeah. Bring the
Yeah,
ice cream, but there better be
yeah,
ice cream there.
yeah.
This is the second annual. Last year you raised give or take 10,000. You had about 97 people. I'm assuming you're probably going to try to double those numbers, even triple if you can. But what I've loved what you're thinking about doing here this year, Jim, is that August 4th there's a pre-registration. So if I register before August 4th, what will I get?
Well, that'll include a meal. So you get your meal. You'll get a what we call a doggy bag. No pun intended, but it's a gift bag with lots of goodies.
Love it.
Last year we had riders' bells, and we gave everybody a rider's bell, and they were quite substantial. They were very heavy, and they had paw prints on them.
I love
So
it.
that was a great like people were blown away by that. So there's all kinds of neat surprises in there. And then you qualify to you're in the ride, and you'll get your meal, and you'll get those gifts. And you will also, if you go to each stop, we have 3 poker stops on our road. It takes about 2 to 2.5 hours without any stopping. So each one is a spot where you can have a meal, a pit stop, whatever, a
Love it.
refresh
Love it.
you want. Yeah, and you get to see beautiful country. It takes the older roads that are still in pretty good condition, so it's a very scenic route. We rode it.
Mm.
We did it many times, the route, just to see, make sure that it was appropriate. And once you get to each stop, by just being there and filling out a chit with your name and number on it, you're entitled to a draw for another prize as well. So each poker,
Absolutely love this. Love this. Love this, Jim. August 8th is the big day, but if you pre-register again by August 4th, you've got
right,
few little goodies as well thrown in there.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I don't doubt for a moment that once Carla heard that this is going to happen, that she wanted to give you and everyone else a big hug because you all deserve it. I mean, it's a valiant effort, especially during the time that we're going through right now. Let me just throw out the website here so people can
Sure,
register.
please.
It's www.petrescueshelter.com. Again, www.petrescueshelter.com. Make sure you get there before August 4th. I'm going to do my dangest to try to be out there as well too, because this sounds like so much fun. The goal was 10,000. Well, the goal was a lot less than 10,000 last year, wasn't it? What was
Yeah, it
your goal
was.
last year?
Well, I started. Well, that's the whole thing about the pre-register and everything. It's all about numbers for Carla because she has to know how many meals to get and how
Yeah,
many shirts to order, and she's just so endearing that way. And the bike, us, so we're kind of like, look out the window. Okay, are we going today or not? So to
yeah,
get us to, and it's against the culture of freedom, and that's what we both have that in common, right? That's why we ride, right? Is we
exactly.
we kind of our 9 to 5 day or whatever is we have restrictions and we have rules and regulations. When we ride, we just ride safe, we ride in tandem,
100%.
and off we go, right? So that's the whole goal of it. And trying to convince Carla that it's going to be difficult to get those numbers. So we're trying to change that paradigm a little bit, move that needle, and get people to pre-register. And
Love
that
it.
the incentive is that they get their meal is included. We will have extra meals, and there'll be a nominal fee to get them. So we don't want to, and no one is going to go hungry. But it's just a matter of trying to get those numbers. But our target this year, I think, is about 120, 130. But who knows, with this going out,
You're right.
and all of the advertising, that word of mouth that's happened, and the fact that there hasn't been a big event. This will be the first one in Manitoba, and a lot of bikers love our pets, so there's a lot of passion there. So
Look, yeah, I think you've got something here, and I have something tells me this is going to be fantastic. Just a little side note, though, maybe
mhm.
even just have a little kitty there and say, look, put in a few bucks, and if we raise $1,000, Jim will shave his beard.
There's a good one. I never even thought about that. Oh, you got great ideas. Yeah, we've got a couple of we're very competitive too, right, in
There
our
you
community.
go.
So a couple of us, the vice president, myself, and the president also kicked in a few bucks and said, okay, we want everybody to match it as far as the members go, right? So we've got that going. And to that point, I'm glad you mentioned that, because when you register, there's also a spot where you can get pledges, and we're giving a prize away for the person who gets the most pledges. And we've got a female rider in our group right now that has, I think, 150 or $200 worth of just pledges, people that are just will support you. So yeah, so the top pledge person will receive a gift as well. And Carla has such great connections because, as I mentioned, the rescue shelter does complete charity work, or complete, they rely on donations. So she has great contacts with all kinds of wonderful prizes. So I can't imagine what they were last year. They were fabulous too. So,
well, I'll say one thing, Jim. I know a lot of people are looking forward to just getting out and just being a part of something. Yeah. It's called Ride for Rescue. If you want to find out more, head out to Manitoba, because that's where this is happening. www.petrescueshelter.com, www.petrescueshelter.com. Register before August 4th. Get in there. August 8th is the big day, and look for the hairy bearded guy named Jim.
Yeah.
Jim,
yeah,
thanks
come
for
and see.
come see the hairy guy. Jim, thanks for doing this, man. I really, from the bottom of my heart, your group, what they're doing is it's making a world of difference, not only for Carla, but it also puts it's a pat on the back for every motorcycle rider out there who is so dedicated to this sport and to just giving and caring. And that's, hey man, that's what we're all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And right back at you too. I really do appreciate you taking the time to do this. Like it's the word of mouth and stuff like this that really help us get that word out that we're doing this event. And at the end of the day, it's really about helping the shelter out to keep in business. They were the first no-kill registered over 20 years ago. I know they struggled in years, and it's just a great charity. It's a great cause, great people. They volunteer. There's half a dozen of her staff, Carla's staff, come out and volunteer, and you can just see how, and they're so efficient. I was in awe of watching, these folks work. Like, this is what they do, and they're so gracious about it. So every dollar that you go and donate, you can rest assured it goes directly into the operation and helping those animals. It's just that simple.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a great day.